Hello. First of all, thank you all for being here. That is amazingly nice on a Monday night for you guys to come out. City Winery, shout out to Michael Dorff, who was, those of you who know him, papering the house, thank you, that's amazing. Are you being paid? No? Levitard guy, you're wearing a Levitard hat from our merch store? Yeah. Outstanding. How was the delivery? Good? Do you realize what a pain in the fucking ass it was to get you your hat? It took Meadowlark like 2 years and they couldn't get one hat to one person. Nice hat. We sold, hold on, I'm gonna call Levitard. Literally, we sold a hat. He texted me, so Dan Levitard, this is not part of the show. I have a whole show here, now I'm totally screwed. Coca. Oh, I gotta introduce Coca. Hold on. I've been alone, which is how I do almost everything. And nice Mets jersey. And are you proud of that? Like, it's awesome. 69, baby. 4 years more than the, is it, no, 86? They won in 86. So it's not Knicks. I'm a Knicks fan. I'm quite excited. If this show had been the night of a Knicks game, I still would have been here. Because it's sort of how I parent. Work first. Sorry. Listen, the truth hurts. I think my kids are here, which is amazing. I'm not allowed to point them out. I don't know exactly where they are, but if I did, they would not be happy. So I've been alone. This has been a tour that started in Philadelphia on April 2nd. It's a City Winery-generated tour. City Winery is amazing. You can drink, you can eat. We're taping a show. So just so you know, you don't have to laugh, you don't have to cry, you don't have to clap, because Coca will just edit everything that we want. So I don't care what you react. I just care that Ryan in the back. Ryan, can you hear me? That's really what matters, because we're about downloads. Except we're doing a tour now. So we've been to 6 cities. This is our 6th. And I'm just incredibly thankful. But it's a regular episode. But we can't start it. So when I'm alone without Coca, it's not good for me. Because if any of you have ever watched Nothing Personal, which is a show every day, this is a lot of obligated crowd tonight, which is not ideal. But it's really super nice of people obligated to come. It just feels sometimes in other cities, I didn't know anyone. And you listen when you do a show to reactions. And the video didn't quite hit here in New York, which is strange. In other cities, like a live show, different parts of the video attracted different reactions. So you could tell sort of how the crowd was gonna be, or you could tell whether anyone wanted to be here. Don't worry, it will end at 9:34. No matter what's happening, it will end exactly at 9:34. And the best news is you can drink this entire time. And they only mark it up by like 100%. So it's perfect. So Coca's not been here, but he is here tonight. And I'm going to introduce him. And if you don't know him, which probably is 86.9% of the room, we have a show called It's Nothing Personal with David Samson is the name of the show. But Matthew Coca is a critical part of that show. I want to bring him out here. Matthew Coca, everybody. Yeah. I'd say he's like a son to me, but I think my son likes me more, which is, yeah, anyway. So what Coca will do is he will tell me when we need to move on. He'll tell me when I lose my place. And what I've done in cities where he doesn't show up is I ask someone in the audience to be Coca for the night. So I'm going to do the same thing even though Coca's here, because some people in the audience totally love that. So if you're bored of what I'm talking about, just sort of yell what Coca would yell in my ear during a show, like move on. Or if something happens during the show, Coca's wired in like Jesse Eisenberg right now for way less money, way less. That's a movie reference. Nobody? Amazing. Social Network? Anybody? Okay. Hold on. No more movie jokes. Hold on. I had a whole bunch of movie jokes. The Social Network one gets like 15 people to react every show. So Coca will also remind me where I was. Have we started yet?
Yeah, move on.
Okay. Here we go. Do you have the music to play?
No.
Can you take the video down, Ryan, for me? Because that's the still shot, like on our Instagram page when I post something versus Coco or Sarah, who's here. Sarah McCrory works with us too, which is great. A shout out to Lebitard and John Skipper, Meadowlark Media, because after we showed that someone else would pay for our show, they let us have 1/69th of one employee to work with Coca. So this is 6 weeks worth of work for Sarah on the time clock. Thank you for being here every morning. Sarah McCrory is on stage left. And we play music before the show, so I can't start without the music. Here we go. Aren't we amazing? We are quite a show. We are highly produced. It's so unreal. You're going to meet Pablo Torre later in the show. Pablo Torre is not in the audience because he's a straight diva. He would not leave the green room. He's eating, drinking, and getting hammered and stoned back there. And the reason he does is he's got 17 employees at Meadowlark, all of whom do his show. So he doesn't really care, but you'll meet him. There he is, Pablo Torre. Totally unscripted. Pablo, thank you. Try to blow out not near the smoke alarm. I'm not kidding. That actually happened. Okay. I can't say okay. 3, 2, 1. 4869. Garden. That's the nothing personal word of the night. Garden, as in Madison Square Garden. Yes. We're going to talk about the garden. Before we talk about the garden, I got to laugh with you about one thing. The font on my cards would absolutely make you realize that I screwed it up. Oh, I forgot to do the whole first page.
Just go.
God damn it. Garden, my favorite place on earth. It's the greatest place on earth. I don't know if you've ever been there. 19,763 people fit into the garden. And for some reason, it's the only place in New York where everyone has the same view of somebody. It is the most bizarre thing. New York, as you know, is full of people with different views. Our country has become this amazing horseshoe where people feel like they have to disagree without listening. They don't open their ears. They just open their mouths. And if they don't open their mouths, they just decide not to even talk, which obviously is incredibly frustrating. Everyone in New York seems to agree that James Dolan is just an absolute asshole. And it's funny, you're applauding, but I'm wondering why. I have this thing because of the career, one of the careers I had was to be in baseball. And as I was president of a team for 18 years, 16 years, executive vice president for 2 years. And I found it strange that people just definitionally would not like me. I prefer when people don't like me after they meet me. I don't quite understand the not liking when you don't know somebody. I find it to be the most bizarre thing where you form an opinion of somebody, and James Dolan is one of the great examples that you all have vitriol for him because he wants to look at your face, and he goes after the liquor people. You know that story when he tried to, the guy in the Levitard hat, of course. Thank you. You're my audience tonight. I'm talking directly to you. Did you listen to the Levitard show this morning? Do you listen every day? Okay, there's... That's amazing. Thank you. There are some Meadowlark Media people here at table 69, so if you're looking for work, they're not hiring. I don't even think they have an HR department, actually, or a benefits department. Haha, that's their table. Hold on. The ones who left, that's them. Truth hurts, doesn't it? Who do I call? Call Julia. I think Julia's here. Julia is someone who works at Meadowlark. Who do we call? Julia. So I was thinking about owners and James Dolan and thinking about success, and then I was thinking about commas. I have a weird thing with grammar. I went to Horace Mann High School here in New York. I grew up in New York. Nobody's applauding for Horace Mann. I don't blame you. You shouldn't applaud. It's full of pedophiles. So I totally understand why no one would want to own. I love that I went to Horace Mann. I went right smack in the middle of the inappropriate touching, and I thought I was just trying to get an A. That's what we all said to each other. This is a different time. I was there in the 70s and 80s, and we did not think it was strange when professors, they had to be called professors because you're a prep school, and sleeping with students we thought was normal, and I'm not kidding. We just figured that was run-of-the-mill. Males being inappropriate with males, we just assumed that that's how things are. And as long as we knew grammar, and as long as we got into a good school. And so I rebelled a lot as a child. I was not a great child. I talked a lot. Shocking. It's amazing that I get paid to talk now. It's the greatest job in the world. My mom's laughing. Thank you, Mom. Here in second row. You weren't laughing when you paid me all that money to shut the hell up at dinner, were you? True story. Paid me not to talk. Try that sometime. It's awesome. Started off at dimes, worked my way up to quarters, dollars. Then she married a wealthy guy and it went to 50s. You don't want to hear about it getting paid not to talk? Commas. I was talking about commas. The Knicks have a comma. Do you know what a comma is? A comma is what you do when you list your accomplishments. A comma is used to show that there's more than one thing happening. So the Knicks are champions 1970, comma 1973. And the question that I ponder all the time is, when does the comma become a period? Because a period is the end of something. A comma means it's still happening. And so the Knicks are 1970, comma 1973 when you list their championships. But to have more space in the media guide, what the NBA does is they do 1969-70, 1972-73. The NBA does that because their season goes over a calendar. We once talked, side note, Coco, about owners' meetings in baseball. They are asinine. Owners are funny people. They are, there's a lot of ego, and they're brilliant in their businesses, but they get in a room and run a baseball team, and they become just children who just want to beat each other at a game where it's not even money. And they're so used to fighting over money and making money, but they just want to win a particular game. And when the Wilpons are a great example. Steve Cohen we can talk about too, Mets man. The Wilpons were funny, and it was a father and son. So I would spend a lot of time talking to Jeff Wilpon about the benefits of nepotism, because there's great benefits. So nepotism is when you get a job because of who you know or who's related to you, but they don't talk about what it is to keep your job. And that's a slight little nuanced difference. I got a job when I was 31 years old. I was working on Wall Street, and Jeffrey Lurie, my stepfather at the time, asked me if I would help purchase the Montreal Expos. And I was working at Morgan Stanley, and I told him I would, and I told him what my daily rate was that I was making at Morgan Stanley. Because I was on Wall Street when it was amazing to be on Wall Street. It was actually the Wolf of Wall Street without Margot Robbie, but not for lack of looking. And there were no midgets that were ever thrown. I don't know where that came from. Oh, I can't say that. What is the word? There's so Coca has a list of words I can't say. Little people. Thank you. See, I associate myself as little person, so I feel like I'm at least taller than little people, so I'm not going to call them little people. I actually did a Samson sit-down with Brad Williams. You're hired. Did you know? Brad Williams is a little person, and I asked him, can I call you a midget? And he was totally fine, because he is. So that's like when people make fun of you. You're short. I hear that sometimes as a critique. Samson, you're so short. Levitard does that to me sometimes, and he lets them do it on the air. I don't know if you guys watch Levitard. They like having, are there Levitard fans here? So that's great, thank you. That's tremendous. That's a character that I play on Levitard. I don't know if you're aware of that. There's different characters in my life. There's the character of Levitard, there's the character of The Sporting Class, which is a really cool sports business show with Pablo and John Skipper, who may be here or may not be, I'm not sure. And then there's the character on Levitard, and the character on Levitard is one where it's okay for them to say the things that they say about me. And people often ask me, does it bother you? And the answer is no, because it's a universe we live in that we hope entertains you. But what we do is we call it the universe that it's actually how things are. But we do that, just a little inside baseball here, we do that for you so you can be loyal and a part of what we do. But Dan doesn't actually hate me, and the shipping container doesn't actually hate me. And the reason I know that is I asked them. And they were not willing to say to my face that they hate me, which I thought was amazing that they'd only tell everybody else. Mike Ryan. So let me tell you, want to hear a story about Mike Ryan? Mike Ryan is a guy, formerly executive producer of, this wasn't on the bingo card, talking about Mike Ryan.
You're gone.
I'm screwed. Mike Ryan, former executive producer at Meadowlark and of Dan Le Batard's show. He's been doing it. There's a 20th anniversary coming up in September. Le Batard's been doing this for 20 years, which is not easy. That deserves an applause from everybody. I don't think, and I do not, keep in mind this. Shout out to City Winery. All I asked for, my daughter Kira is in the entertainment industry, and she helped me with the rider. Towels, Kleenex, and tissue, and water. 2 out of 3 ain't bad, Meatloaf. That's a song.
All right, Mike Ryan. Mike Ryan
happens to be a fascinating character. A character. The whole Heat Twitter and everything that's going on with the Miami Heat who are playing tonight. We're going to give you score updates because I know that all the obligated people wish they were watching the Heat play the Celtics tonight. And he happens to be smart, engaging, funny, and he will not forgive me for robbing him of his entire life of fandom. And so we have a problem. And it's the problem I have with Billy Gill, another member of the shipping container. If you don't know him, he's a big Marlins fan. And I have a problem with people who have a problem with me as a member of the Marlins because we have a fucking ring. A ring. That means we won a title. Why don't you try being a Mets fan or try being a Knicks fan? All the Marlins fans who complain to me, I have zero patience or tolerance for it. It's like Red Sox people. I did a show in Boston. Red Sox people so angry at John Henry because they finished in last place for 3 years. They have 4 rings since 2004. You New Yorkers, you have nothing. 0. 1973 was the last Knick championship. If you want to be upset with Jimmy Dolan, be upset about the quality of his team and the fact that he likes Isaiah Thomas. That's it. Don't be upset about things that you think you know about him because you don't. As for Steve Cohn, if I can get to that, $2.4 billion. The bastard doubled the 1.2 that we got for the Marlins. He did it on purpose as an FU to Fred and Jeff. And I asked Steve one day, I said, why is that an FU when you overpaid? Like, that's such a weird, but to him, he wanted the Mets so badly. And the thing is, he promised you all the World Series. Do you remember when he promised you a World Series, when he opening press conference? If you saw the video that we started the show with, it's about owners speaking to the media. I spent a lot of my career trying to get our owner not to talk to the media, because nothing good happens when you do. And I said it on the show. And the reason I say that is owners, like in owners' meetings, they're so emotional and they're so unrealistic. So I have a very simple rule about anything, and I use it not just in baseball, but I use it in my life. And it's the 30-minute rule. And I spent a lot of time trying to get our owner or all owners to do it, and none of them do. The 30-minute rule is never make a decision 30 minutes after an event that you think is going to cause you to make a decision. So it could be after you win a game, after you lose a game, after a bad day of work, after a fight with your spouse, after whatever. Don't make a decision in the first 30 minutes about anything you're going to do in your life. Like if you're running a marathon, if you feel like you want to quit, you have to go 30 minutes more before you decide to quit. And the reason I like that rule is it generally stops people from doing things that they will deem as irrational as soon as that 30 minutes pass. And I spent a career firing managers and trading players and demoting players because there was so much emotion with owners. And Steve Cohn had this emotion that he was just going to come to New York. As a matter of fact, he's Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter. Is anyone here a Jeter fan? Are you? Let me just say this. He's a hell of a shortstop. That's it. You're going to chant Derek Jeter. Marlins man is here. Hey. That's unreal. How are you? Can I tell people I know your actual name, or do you not? Well, because Jeter wouldn't give you what you wanted. I hate him for a totally different reason, because he's a fake, total piece of shit. You hate him because he wouldn't give you, like, run of the show. So, trust the process. That was Marlins man. That is a jersey that was, you're wearing the orange jersey. That's so awesome that you're here. That is amazing. When Jeter took over the Marlins, that's a whole funny story. The reason I don't like him is that he thought he could manipulate me and not realizing that I was manipulating him, which is amazing because there were no other bidders for the team over $600 million. And he got Bruce Sherman to pay $1.2 billion because it wasn't his money. And I told him that A-Rod wanted to pay $1.19. A-Rod can't even rub two nickels together to buy the Timberwolves, but you'll hear more about that in a minute. A-Rod, he's something else. He and Jeter, you know why they don't like each other? Because they invade each other's fake space. Have you ever tried that? Like being with someone else who's fake, and you're like, wait a minute, that's my lane. That's why they didn't get together. Not all players get along. Not all players like baseball. I read in New York that people were critical. Derek Jeter doesn't watch baseball. I don't know if you ever read that. There are a lot of players who don't like baseball. It's their job. So I don't know about all of you, because all of you work, other than my friends at Meadowlark Media, other than Julia. No, I'm just kidding. I love you guys. I'll see you Wednesday for an episode of Nothing Personal. Oh, that's right. I can't be in the studio because there's construction at 8 a.m. I have that here on card 4. I was in a public forum going to ask. I don't know what table they're at. I was going to say, when we signed on, we were going to be live in a studio at 8 a.m. every day, and that was over a year ago. Pablo is in that studio every day. Every day. And Pablo backstage is eating his poke bowl and drinking. He said, you know, David, there's 4 Meadowlark shows in the studio now. That's awesome. Thank you, guys. Don't you worry. They're going to be there with my new camera and microphone any day now. Any day. John Starks. Are we talking about John Starks? We weren't even talking about the Knicks. I was talking about something I wanted to talk about. What were we literally just talking about?
Players.
Oh, players who don't like the game and then who don't like each other. Do you guys want a quick Jeter story? He's funny. He is a funny guy. He wanted a team so badly. He wanted to own a team. These players, LeBron and Shaq, are fighting over who's going to get the Vegas NBA team. That's really great. That is going to work perfectly in Vegas. It is a definite 4-sport town. There could be some people from Vegas here. Yes, 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 yes. I think it's a coincidence. LeBron and Shaq want to be in Vegas. I'm laughing because we wanted Vegas so badly when we couldn't get a stadium in Miami that we pretended we wanted to move to Vegas, and we went to Vegas and we met with the mayor. And Oscar Goodman is still, his wife is now the mayor, or his daughter. Is it the wife or the daughter? Do you know even who the mayor is? It's the wife. Carolyn? So the way the meeting went in Vegas is we showed up to pretend to move the team, even though the commissioner at the time said you can't move to Vegas. And we said, great, can you not say anything? Because we're going to pretend that we can move there. And so they thought we were really going to move. And he came to the meeting with showgirls. Like that was going to be the difference maker. And we were like, that's great, but where's the money? We'd rather have money than showgirls, and then we'll take the profit and get the showgirls. But he led with the showgirls, and we just used them, and we used a bunch of other cities, not very nice of us, but it happens all the time, where you use cities as leverage in order to get a ballpark in Miami. And the ballpark was meant for the purpose of making the team worth more money, making the payroll go up, possibly, but not a requirement, because it was about making the team more money and making the team more valuable. That's why these teams do things. So all of you get the PR announcements of all of the reconstruction or new ballparks. Steve Cohn wants to get rid of the chop shops. It's because he wants you all to have a better experience at Citi Field. That's why, out of the goodness of his heart, he wants the chop shops gone. He wants more of your money and more of your time because he calculates a per cap. And a per cap is based on the amount of money you spend when you go to an event. City Winery does it too. They're calculating the total amount of F&B sold. They divide it by the total number of people. You can't make up the number like I did in baseball. I used to make up attendance all the time. If you go back and look at Marlins numbers, half of them ended in 69. Half of them were people's birthdays. We would point out people in the crowd, and we'd try to guess their height. And when we felt religious, we'd end it with 613. There's a lot of, I don't know if that's a reference, that there's 6.9% of you that may know that reference. In New York, I expected there to be more, but thank you. Table 1 knows 613. Also, the number of wins for Red Holzman, the greatest coach in history, won 613 games. I love Red Holzman. Ernie Grunfeld, it turns out I must only know Jewish players, which is weird. Ernie Grunfeld used to be a player for the Knicks. He was part of the Bernie and Ernie show. Bernie's the Nick who you all forget because you think Brunson's Bernard King now. That guy. He is not, okay, what has, and I'm a Nick guy. Have we won anything? Okay. Here's my suggestion on what it is. It is pathetic, and it happened in Miami. They spent 4 hours on the Le Batard show celebrating a Game 2 road victory in the first round. Who gives a shit? Literally. Now, the Knicks are going to beat the Sixers with the process that you can't trust in Philadelphia because it's over now. There's no more rebuild. They're not winning. They didn't win. The Knicks are the number 2 seed. They're up 3-1. They're going to advance past the first round. Guess what that means for me? What? Okay, thank you. That doesn't even add to the show at all. Like, what? Why is that? Why are you yelling that? Okay, still not adding to the show, but I have to repeat it now for the people listening but not hearing you. A guy center in, I think, a he, she, they, I have to say that I can't see you. The lights are bright and I'm schwitzing. Wants me to tell you that they're going to beat the Pacers. 4-8-9-6. There's a guy here that's wasting another minute of your time, much closer to 9:34. Don't worry, 63 minutes to go. Who said the Knicks are going to lose to the Pacers? Seriously? It's a momentum killer. What was I even talking about? Jalen Brunson winning the first round. Meaningless. It doesn't add to your commas, does it? Do you keep track of when your teams make the playoffs but lose in the first round? Is that a thing that you want to remember? Here's my view of that. I want to win. 1994, 1999, Knicks went to the finals. There's someone who I can't see in the front row, Alan Popowitz, my cousin. He and I went to a game 1999. Did we not? 1994? 94? Houston? I was very upset about that. John Stark shot 2 for 18. We lost Game 7, and I learned a valuable lesson in managing my career in sports. And Pat Riley, who's now he runs the Heat, if you know Pat Riley. He was the coach of the Knicks. When he went to the Heat, it was crushing as a New Yorker. I hated the Heat so much, I can't even tell you. Worst day of my life is the day LeBron joined the Heat. That was the end of the Marlins because all the attention went to the Heat. And Pat Riley said, I'm going to dance with the people I brought to the dance. And that was him saying, I'm going to keep putting John Starks out there. I'm going to keep letting him shoot. And I don't think Pat Riley ever understood what it was to be a fan and to watch that happen. It's to have a dagger. It's to watch your chance to add to your comma slip away, not knowing when it will ever come back. And so I tried to be different. I tried to say, if we're going to win, we have to win all of it. I don't want to be mediocre. I'd rather be crappy, but I want the chance to win a World Series. Because the Marlins won in 97. I wasn't there. Then they won in 03. And in between, they're terrible. But I'd much rather have that than be a first-round winner, like making it to the wild card. Whatever. Can you name a wild card team from last season in Major League Baseball other than the Marlins, which is recognizable because they made it and they were eliminated? The D-backs made it to the World Series. It was really more rhetorical. I'm going to work on that for next show. We just heard before the show that we've been invited to go tour in Chicago and St. Louis. So we're going to be going there, and I know what I'm going to work on. Each show has changed. Each show, these are like reps. I'm getting better. I'm going to stop asking as many questions for input. I'm going to work on that. I'm not a fan of anything anymore. I got robbed. I don't want you to feel sorry for me. I'm the luckiest person in the world. Nepotism. That's what I was talking about. Yes. Here's the thing. When you're lucky, people say it's better to be lucky than good, but they don't tell you the rest of the story. So what you don't know is that the downside of being lucky is that you feel as though you're going to be lucky in everything. You feel as though that it's going to bleed, and then somehow your personality changes, and you get the feeling that you're going to be successful at everything you do because you were successful at one thing. You had an opportunity to do one thing, that means you're going to get an opportunity to do everything. And so I've actually spent my life, you saw in the video, Survivor's an example. Today's the 12-year anniversary of a double marathon that I did with Brett Parker, who's here, to raise money. Now this is not rhetorical. Does anyone have a cure for Parkinson's here? All right, Brett, we got to keep going. Sorry. We got to work harder. Please, we could use a cure, but we do athletic events. He does them, raising money for the Michael J. Fox Foundation. And we did a double marathon. My daughter, Hannah, helped me do that as well. And yes. Yes. And the double marathon, I don't know why we're bringing that up, but it was for charity. Oh, it's me always trying to do something more. It's me taking the nepotism or taking being born on third and trying to steal home time and time again. It's me never being satisfied. It's me never wanting to be a prisoner of the moment. So instead what I do is the opposite, is I don't actually enjoy the moment and I'm looking for the next moment. And what I learned with tons of hours of therapy, which I strongly suggest for everyone, especially a table in the second row, I would say that what I've learned is that you don't always have to say what's next. You can enjoy what is. And I'm not there by any stretch, though my therapist recently said that he is about to take an Asian vacation. He's going to Tokyo and he's going all over. So he wants me to do doubles Thank you, Mom. Is no one else in therapy? Have you ever gone to a doctor and they say, oh, just take a look at this. We want to do a quick biopsy. That'll be $1,000 not covered by charity, not covered by insurance. Christ. I'm never satisfied. It's why we're doing this tour. I want more challenges. I want more things. I want to run marathons without training because I want to cry. I want to feel it. I want to be in pain. I want to do the math of what it is to train 20 weeks for a marathon, run it in 4.5 hours, not train at all, run it in 5 hours and 46 minutes, and have the thought that you wasted all those years training for 1 hour when either way I wasn't getting paid. Think about that when you're training for a marathon. The hundreds of hours that you spend, that I've spent, and it saved me an hour on the clock. Now, during the course of the London Marathon this past Sunday, I cried, for sure, because I didn't think I'd finish. I wanted to quit. I couldn't, my legs stopped working. I could barely, it wasn't a cardio issue because when you're going at 2 miles an hour, there's no cardio problems, I promise you. There's definite blood flow issues to all the wrong places. I can promise you that as well. No one's invented a pill for that. Pills everywhere. I was just in Mexico. There's a pharmacy in the airport. You can get pills for anything. Anything. They had like 6 erectile dysfunction pills, and they had 1 million antibiotics. They had Ozempic, where God bless my capitalist family. We bought it all, and we're going to resell it. That I haven't done a lot as a father. That is for sure. As a matter of fact, I've done almost nothing right as a father, but I have 3 kids who are very accomplished and fantastic kids. Yes, that is worthy of an applause. We bought out the damn pharmacy. We will, if you bought a meet and greet, you think you're getting a signed baseball, you're actually getting a little blue pill. And it expires in 2016. Don't you worry. So the greatest thing that I get to do as part of this show is I get to have guests in different cities. Hired Metalark's booker, fantastic. Every guest I've had has been gotten by me. So that was great, thank you. Ton of help there. Had a conversation with the booker before the tour started, and the booker said, hold on, let me check. No, nothing personal. I'm supposed to only do Pablo, Torre Finds Out, and Lebitard's show, and then Oddball. I said, what about nothing personal? She said, oh, I'll do that. It's extra. I submitted it, and it got rejected, so all guests are just people I know. Today, you're lucky because the budget for this show doesn't allow flying, which is why Lebitard's not here. He was going to come, and he put in, you'd think he owns the goddamn company. No. I mean, yes, but still, he didn't get the expense approved. So I do have Pablo Torre here, and the reason why you're going to love him, come on out, Pablo. Pablo Torre, folks, we rehearsed this. Yes. Have a seat.
Has it been that insane out here also? Because I've just been imagining, is Marlon's man here? God damn.
So, Pablo, thank you.
Yeah, can
when
I just
you're live
give
on
you,
stage, you just have to sit up.
well,
Because you were hunching, you can sit
yeah,
up.
no,
and-
my mic control.
Well, because you didn't show up to sound check. So don't complain about the mic. Ryan, I told you he would do this. Okay?
Can I give
Diva.
a running tally of things that I've been taking notes on while backstage?
Please.
David Samson is pro-molestation, anti-little people, inexplicably, pro-finding out if people hate you by asking them directly to their face, do you hate me?
That's a good one.
Which is just, that's the
Chef's
way to do
kiss.
it. Anti-therapy? Pro-Jim Dolan, anti-R-Studio, pro-nepotism, anti-erectile dysfunction, pro-pronouns? And anti-rhetorical devices while making every question you ask a rhetorical device. So, things
Ladies
are
and
going
gentlemen,
great
Pablo
so
Torre.
far.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. This is what you'll get if you download and subscribe his show. It's called Pablo Torre Finds Out. And the
Seriously,
irony is,
please subscribe.
I asked him before the show if he could give the elevator pitch to his show, and he said he'd have to call on one of the scores of employees to do it for him. But he has a great show where he finds out a lot of stuff that apparently you all care about because you are listening in great numbers.
Is this what, like, Festivus with David Samson is like? It's just like, how many grievances are we airing tonight?
I do have a sore throat, though. But I'm not going to complain
I'm
about
a mature person who's not going to make a joke
Wait, I have
about
water.
that. Very good.
The reason I wanted Pablo to come here today, I wanted to give you guys an insight because I love nothing personal about what happens behind the scenes. This is what we do when no one's listening. We speak all the time, almost every day, I'm sorry to say, for you.
I've never felt more self-conscious about this fact. That I'm in any way co-signing everything I've been hearing backstage, but now here I am, implicitly doing exactly that. But seriously, David Samson is one of the most, I would say, special brains I've ever encountered. Can we explain how the night started for you backstage? Because I was backstage with your daughter, who's lovely. And we were hanging out, and you suddenly realized that you were missing something.
So I have a system.
We were shocked to hear this.
I have a very, very serious system for these shows. I have a routine. This show started a half hour later than my other shows, so I just pushed everything up a half hour. But I have everything laid out. I know exactly. I have my socks. I have a handkerchief. I have a towel. I have some powder, and it's just all ready. But I wear these bracelets, and I wear the same bracelets for every show. and I forgot them. And so it was 7:37, which is the time that I would start, which was 7:07 in the other cities. At 7:37, it's bracelet time. And so at 7:37, that is not, I don't know why that's strange.
That's what's funny about it.
At 7:37,
it's bracelet time, yes.
I realized I did not have the bracelets. And so I asked Michael Dorff, the owner of City Winery, I texted saying, I'm not going on stage. I can't do the show without the bracelets. To which Pablo responded, can I use this for content? That's what he didn't care about the bracelets. He didn't volunteer to help me. He didn't try to guide me. I had one person yelling at me, it's not magical thinking. I had another person yelling, can I use this for content? All I'm trying to do is get ready for a show to somehow make you feel as though that this has been worth your time, that you were forced to be here. And I have nothing to play with that I can play with on stage. And I have nothing. So I'm bothered.
Yeah,
this whole show's been off because of that.
That's right. You have nothing but a very subtle piece of jewelry that you've brought.
This looks way better on people who are not 5'5", $132. I'll tell you that.
On medium people, yes.
On medium people. Are you jealous that you've never?
I'm a Yankee fan, of course. This is all very triggering. On top of the fact that it's
logo.
Ridiculous. So you codified truly like a petty resentment on the thing that should mean that you've transcended such things, which is impressive and perfect for you.
Yeah. So. This is Pablo. People are like, what the fuck's he talking about? Do you do that? Everyone does that, but they just don't say it. He went to Harvard. Did you go to Horace Mann?
As an unmolested person, I can't adequately weigh in on this topic, I think.
No? You did go to Horace Mann?
No.
Where did you go to high school?
I went to Regis High School.
Who said Regis? Someone knew that. What?
That's right.
Have you met him before?
That's a good bit of logic, to be honest.
If you're a stalker.
Let's not degrade my fans, David.
That's your only fan.
My only fans
Thank you.
Is a little bit
I'm
more,
here all night. Well, at least till 9:34.
More explicit. Matthew Coca, everybody.
He's the best.
Matthew Coca's response when David could not find his bracelets and was legitimately asking everybody, should I go home to get them? Which is a real question that he asked.
If I had the power to do that, I 100% would have done. If I could have delayed it, I was going to be Madonna.
It's a loaded metaphor.
It's unreal, the fact Madonna calls the concerts freight and goes on at 10:30. That's what Madonna does. I thought that we could call this for 8:02, which is when the show started. I don't know if you guys noticed, but we call it at 8:02, and it starts at 8:02 through hell or high water. And I've been braceletless. And it's impacted my brain tonight.
Matthew Coca's response to hearing David ask, I forgot my bracelets, and I love Coca so much. His response was, what bracelets?
Staggering.
I still don't know what bracelets.
I wear the same bracelets every show, Coca. Every single show, I have the same 6 bracelets. Literally, we've done 1,000, 1,100 shows together.
But you have a system for everything.
I do.
And I don't know. So why, you may ask, out there in City Winery, why do you talk to this man so much, Pablo? This seems like a proposition that you may not enter into voluntarily. And I say to you, David's brain, when I say special, I mean that, of course, in the funny way, but also in a sincere way, which is that his brain processes the world in ways that are unlike anyone else that I've ever met. And I've met some really weird fucking people. And his systemized way of seeing the universe, the way he's tracking every detail, he knows, it's unsurprising that this man measured to the micrometer the bathroom distance at Marlins Park. True. It is unsurprising when you realize that when he sits down at a restaurant, he knows where are my exits, which way am I supposed to sit. If you want to know what it's like to go to dinner with David Samson, there really is no...
That's the one person I've gone, thank you. Someone I've gone to dinner with.
Yes.
It's not ideal.
It is a voyage into neurosis unlike any other. And I say that, of course, as somebody who wants to understand your neurosis. And I wonder if you object to that term, neurosis. What would you call your system? What would you call its motivations?
Efficiency. Do you have another question?
I'm just going to let that just sit for a while.
People can criticize all they want. You want to criticize systems? Let me ask. You don't have your own systems for doing things? Now, you may not be as exact.
Raise your hand if you have a system. Whatever you think that means, okay? This is just good demographic research. It's about, yeah, okay. Got it.
It can't. It's my entire family table. Do you know that I spend half my day apologizing for everything I've done to my family in every way, on and off the court? But efficiency is something I will not apologize for.
And you live your life efficiently. And also like this, broadly gesturing at everything you have said tonight.
You mean with the ring? I don't really do that often. That's not purposeful. Are you still talking about the ring? Is it distracting you?
I wasn't before, but now I am again.
I don't know why you are. It's a World Series ring with the Yankee logo on it. It was so good to beat the Yankees. It was so good. We celebrated in Yankee Stadium. The last team to win a World Series in Old Yankee Stadium were the 2003 Marlins. And we were partying, and George Steinbrenner was still alive. And George Steinbrenner shut the lights out in our visiting clubhouse. He shut them off.
I thought you were dabbing just then. And I was like, whoa. That is an incredible celebratory dab on the grave of George Steinbrenner. Holy shit.
Listen, I'm not happy. George, during the World Series, was something else. He was so pissed off every time we won a game. He assumed he was going to sweep us, but we were the better team. And so when we won in Yankee Stadium, he was viscerally angry. And the reason he was so angry is he was like, there's no way that a team is going to beat me who I pay for. And that was his real view, that his view was he paid revenue sharing to the Marlins. He expected us to genuflect in his general direction. Derek Jeter was a player on that Yankee team. Derek Jeter doesn't like celebrating the 03 Marlins when he ran the Marlins. I don't know if you noticed this. He didn't celebrate the 03 Marlins because he didn't like the 03 Marlins. And Derek Jeter, one quick Jeter thing, Pablo, if you don't mind, he spent his first year running the Marlins basically getting rid of everything to do with the former owner and with me and with the 03 Marlins. And I think back how sad that is for the fans of the Marlins, that this guy was focused on making sure that our pictures were down instead of like getting better players. I found that to be a very weird sort of insight into Derek Jeter.
I also love your brain because it does not feel any of the self-consciousness about airing the dirtiest laundry that everyone else would feel. And so David truly
it's
does.
Not that dirty.
Well, you know, mileage
very
varies. Clean. Mileage varies on the dirtiness.
I didn't use the bathroom in the green room. One quick thing, Michael Dorf, for the green room, the bathroom could use a little schmutz wipe. It is not great. The seat was up and there were some dripplings, which means that I've not used the restroom. And I kid you not. Would it kill you to vacuum one time in between acts? One little vacuum.
Just updating anti-City Winery bathroom.
I love the people at City Winery. They're amazing. I'm thankful for them.
I had a great poke bowl back there.
Did you?
It's great, legitimately. Thank you.
I'm just asking you to work in a little bit of something. And some air conditioning. What were we talking about? So this is what Pablo and I do.
Shamelessness was what we were talking about not a minute ago.
We talk on the phone, and we talk about Metal Arc. We talk about business. We talk about life.
And I should say I don't co-sign the opinions in general that you have heard then or privately.
You are the biggest kiss ass ever because you have like a 4-year-old. You're worried about your job.
I just want to gaze now in the direction of David's family. I'm sorry. I am worried about my job. I'm worried about this industry. We live up atop a series of icebergs that change all the time.
We do.
And you're actually a person who I consult when it comes to how rich people think about things. And this is important to me.
He makes 3 times what I make. And I happen to know. 3 times. So your whole get up here, it's not fooling anybody. The members only jacket and the t-shirt with a joint subtly rolled in your left pocket, not fooling anyone. Believe me, I hope that's a joint.
It's legal in this city.
Do you ever wonder whether we do shows stoned? Do you? So I'm going to answer no. And I want to tell you why. I'd love to. It would be amazing because I think that it would add sort of an interesting layer for a particular show. We could maybe just on April 20th, or we could choose a day of the week to do it. But the thing is, when you have a microphone in front of you for a living, it's way too risky. Because this media iceberg that he's talking about, which is a subject we cover all the time, is the canceling of people, or how does a show succeed? What does an audience want? How do you figure out what Pablo does, delivering 3 shows a week of things you want to listen to, or what Coca, Sarah, and I do 5 days a week, and the loyalty that you all show. Lebitard, you listen to how many hours? Too many. It's never too many. Don't say that. I think there's a sponsor in the room. Not too many. Anyone from DraftKings here? Is anyone?
Thank God.
Hold on.
Thank God.
I have an entire gambling thing that I can now cover. Give DraftKings their money back? What, for which, tonight? Oh, for draft. Oh, God. Hold on. I'm going to repeat that into the microphone. I'm going to tell you why.
Why?
Because for the... It was
They
a
heard
great
it.
point.
They heard it. They heard
They
it.
did hear it? Yeah. Can we cover gambling in sports? Are you going to be okay with that? Are
Dude,
you willing?
You asked me permission for none of the things you've said tonight. So why are you starting now?
The funny thing about Pablo is he'll give me a list of things when we're doing shows together. Like, I can't talk about ESPN because I still work there. I'm doing a whole show tomorrow at 8 a.m. live. I'm going to cover the firing of Bob Bakish, the chairman of Paramount, and I work for CBS still. And the reason I'm going to cover it is I have a contract with you all. I have a contract that I'm going to be honest. What are you?
This is what I meant about dirtiness of laundry.
Are you interested? Not a rhetorical question. I'm answering it for you. The audience is interested to hear what's going on.
Okay, proceed.
8:30 to 8:52, Pablo Torre. Anyone have the time? 8:56. Thank you so much, Pablo. No.
Wow.
No, I'm just...
Wow. I was just getting settled.
I
just thought, anyway.
Your shoes untied.
It's how young people wear shoes, David.
Do you know that you are about a year away from being creepy? 1 year.
According to you, that makes me a great teacher.
Yes.
Professor.
I'll give you a creepy story. I did a speech at Penn State recently. Love
All right,
Penn
move
State.
on. Move on. Move on.
No.
Move on.
Hold
move
on. This is about, I was going to go out and have fun, and after the speech, someone came up to me and said, I'd really like you to meet my dad. And I knew that that's when I was old. And you, the way you dress, it's been bothering all of us at Meadowlark. We have a dress code.
Are you wearing dress code? Is that what this is?
I wear the same thing all the time, just with shorts because I don't have a studio.
Do people know your system for getting dressed?
They probably do not.
Someone just yelled out every 30 days. So I think you should explain
this. Is that a family member? No? Amazing. Again, stalkerish. But I don't know about all of you people, but I don't spend 1 second deciding what I'm going to wear. Now, you may be saying, David, do you realize you're wearing checks and checks? And I'll say to you, don't give a shit. Here's why. This was the blazer on the left, and this was the shirt on the left. I wear the underwear that's on top, the socks that are on the left front, the shirt that's on the left, and the blazer that's on the left. And then when it comes back from the laundry, which I do from time to time, or dry cleaning, I put it back on the right, and I rotate. And it takes me 1 minute to get dressed, as opposed to choosing from 12 windbreakers, where he's then late to stuff. Marlins man's a great example. 1 minute to get dressed. Wears the same thing every day. 1 minute.
I keep looking at Marlins Man and think that I smoked more weed than I did backstage. I'm like, yes.
Someone asked me, hey, how does Marlins Man go to all these games? Does he work? And so I just would like you to tell people, if I'm going to say, you work for a living.
Wait, Marlins Man. The people need to hear you.
I want David to know this because I know he was asked it a lot when he was the president, and nobody believed his answer. Since he's been gone, almost every stadium I go to, at least 10 times I'm asked, how much did David and the Marlins pay me to do this? And David, you always said nothing, nothing, nothing. Did you know that? They don't put, to this day, I was in Boston last night. Even the mascot asked me, come on, tell me the truth. How much did Samson pay you?
0.0. Plutarski's GPA. This is a real fan and the only person in this room with a bigger ego than me and Pablo. Right here. And I like it. He told me how he allocates his dollars. I don't want to mean to bring you into the show, but you're a big, big consumer of live sporting events. And you are very generous with your tickets because...
Wait, you were afraid of us knowing that Marlins man loves going to live sporting events?
I was actually afraid of not that. But I'd like you... Can we move on? There's something
At this point, I don't want to move on. I want to find out what the fuck Marlins man is up to.
Everybody, that would be a good episode for you. How does the Marlins man decide his schedule? How does he get the money to go to all these games in these great seats? One would ask.
That is a good episode.
It's a great episode.
That's why I came here tonight.
He's never actually told anyone. I happen to know because he told me. And he swore me to secrecy. He's just like we are. He just buys the tickets. He just doesn't spend money on other people's college education.
You're ruining his episode. You're ruining the episode.
Thank you, Coca.
We did a whole thing with Metalark about one of Pablo's episodes where there was a question, could this air, could it not air? Everyone's always worried about everything. I don't worry about anything. Because what's the difference? Are you guys going to all of a sudden leave this room and say, oh, Marlins man spends money on tickets and women? I mean, you're not going to do that. Totally kidding.
Marlins gentleman objects to your characterization of him.
Listen, I'll just say, he's the real deal, Larry. Are you a... Thank you. Thank you for joining the show. Marlins man. He was a big advocate for us. We loved it. He wore the jersey. We loved that. It was one of the best-selling jerseys that you all made fun of. And baseball hated our jerseys because there were so many different Pantones. And they were designed and they were unveiled on 11/11/11, which is when everything was going great for the Marlins. The new ballpark was opening, and we were signing all these great players like Jose Reyes from the Mets, which was fantastic. We got Jose Reyes from the Mets at 12:01 a.m., the first day of free agency. We met him, and all it took was 2 extra years and $24 more million than the Mets offered. And that was it. It was so easy to do. We said to Jose, what will it take? He gave a number, and our owner said, hell yeah. Heath Bell? The owner, Jeffrey Loria, wore a Marlins Jose Reyes jersey to the meeting at 12:01 a.m. and like some sort of weird flasher had an overcoat, walked in, his agents were there, a bunch of interesting Jewish agents. I'm only saying that because it was after Shabbat. And he opens the coat thinking that something bad's about to happen. And he had this Marlins jersey on, and we had it made. It was a real jersey, not the shit jerseys that you're all buying now from Nike, all that stuff. No, this is back when the jerseys were good, and they were made by Majestic and Russell. You remember those great ones? And Reyes agreed to be a Marlin, like Heath Bell and all the players. All you have to do is overpay every one of them, and they will come to your team, like Metalark and you.
There it is.
All you got to do is overpay, and he will do his show with you. Can we talk about gambling?
Either a gambling addict or a very principled person is here. I don't know which one it is, but we should talk about it, I suppose.
So the world of gambling is a tough one because the leagues are dealing with it. It was way easier when I started. Gambling wasn't allowed. We couldn't do business with gambling companies. We couldn't do business with they were called back then Indian casinos. Now, in Native American casinos, we were not allowed to do deals with them. And they had a bunch of money to give us, and we were looking for sponsors. And we would beg Commissioner Seelig for the ability to take money because the way the casinos make money, this will be shocking, is because you all lose it. That is exactly their P&L. And so when you're in a casino in Vegas and you're wondering, wow, this is so super nice, I get to keep my soap and my cologne, you paid like $5,000 for the cologne that you can go on Amazon and get it for $80. And that's the deal with the business of gambling. DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM, all ESPN Bet. The problem is leagues are now taking the money, they're embracing gambling, and now we're dealing with players who are getting caught gambling. We're dealing with rules and the enforcement of rules. And the biggest misunderstanding is that people think that DraftKings is the cause of the problem, or all the gambling companies. And the interesting thing that he and I have discovered is that they're actually the solution to the problem in terms of on-field integrity. People are worried that the on-field integrity is going to disappear because of players gambling. What was the name? Thank you. Coca, you're done. He's way faster.
Coco's literally
I checked
yawning
out.
right
I checked
now.
out. I checked out.
You're done? That's it. Just because he gets nervous. Are you nervous talking about DraftKings?
I've been nervous the entire time.
Coca has been in hell for 2 hours.
It's why I'll only come to the New York and Philly show. Will you come to Chicago and St. Louis, Coca? No chance, toilet pants. DavidSampsonPodcast.com is the website. There's merch, and you can buy it and wear it. Thank you very much. Also, LebatardAF.com is merch for Lebitard show, so go on that. I promise you it works. And there's PTFO merch, which, by the way, your numbers are terrible. No one is buying your merch, and you came up with like 70 designs.
With friends like this, I'm shocked to know that people aren't really getting the word.
Well, do you promote it ever on your show? I never hear you promote your
No,
merch.
because I'm not a rank capitalist, David.
Isn't that funny? Except during negotiating time.
In which case, you become my agent.
Your agent sucks, by the way. I don't know what you pay for, because he doesn't do one thing for you.
It's an audio-only show. Just know that I did that.
For the people listening to the show, Pablo nodded in some strange high way. Can we, while Pablo's here, we do a segment called So You Want to Talk to Samson. So You Want to Talk to Samson is when we take questions from the audience. Normally you go on the website, DavidSampsonPodcast.com, or go on Twitter, David P. Sampson. And are you saying no questions? Is that cannot because they're sitting with you? Okay, that's a funny rule. Okay, no questions from table 4. But anyone else, we are going to take questions. Normally we do them on the show under So You Want to Talk to Samson, which is from Half Baked, which is a great movie about. Have you seen the second Half Baked?
The second Half-Baked? There's a sequel?
It's called Half Baked 2 Totally High. It just came out.
Shockingly, no.
So Pablo says, oh, I listen to your show every day. We reviewed it yesterday.
Love nothing personal. Love it.
Yesterday was Sunday.
When did we review that show then?
Today.
Today. It was today. That's me. And we're doing a show tomorrow at 8 a.m.
Yeah, you didn't have a show yesterday. I also knew this.
Questions from the audience are going to be part of this show, So You Want to Talk to Samson. Don't feel as though you have to. But the reason why you don't have a microphone is that we'll hear it and then we'll translate it because
I
if
have
you go
the
too
microphone.
long, but don't give it to people. I mean, unless they're short and succinct. Because
But
all right,
you're
go.
going to repeat what they're saying. That's longer than them just asking it themselves, right?
Okay. Okay. What are you going to do? Walk around? Who's got a question? Hurry up. Start.
Is there anything from your Marlins career, any question that you wonder about more than what would have happened if Ozzy didn't say that thing about Fidel Castro?
One
Marlins
thing
man
we
loves
say
this question.
to the Latin manager who we hire for 2012. One thing. Don't talk about Castro. That was the only rule. You don't have to show up to BP, which he never did. He would watch epic bull riding in Spain during BP. I would catch him doing that. And he's like, you're the idiot who gave me 4 years. Like, I'm not coming out to BP. Fine, Ozzy. How about the lineup? No, front office, you do the lineup. All right, that's normal. What are you going to do? I'm going to just sit here, and then I'll give an interview about Fidel Castro and torpedo the entire season and ruin a Seder. It happened on a Seder that I got a call. I'm pointing to the 6 Jews in the crowd. It's Seder's a last dinner with Christ, with Elijah. And whatever.
You're setting the line at 6, huh?
What is it? I didn't even hear you. Was it additive?
If you got it, it was additive. But at this point, it's not worth revisiting.
The answer is, you're asking what I regret about my Marlins career? Is there anything I wondered more about? Yes. I wondered why the 2005 team could not turn it on the way they promised me they would. People think we did a fire sale of the 03 World Series team, and that's revisionist history, and it's wrong. All we did was let Pudge go to Detroit because he wasn't going to do any more steroids, and then we traded Derek Lee, and we brought in Hesop Choi. That's all we did. And we had a really good team. And then in 05, we signed Carlos Delgado as a free agent. We brought in Al Leiter, who sucks worse than his son, was the worst signing of all time. He literally stole $8 million from us. But yet, the team was good, and they kept saying, David, Conine especially, to this day, man, we were so good, we were going to turn it on, and they never did. And I wonder whether we could have won another World Series and whether that would have changed the course of the franchise, because basically I spent the rest of my career chasing Amy and making bad decisions trying to win another World Series. Thank you.
That was one of the most insane Mad Libs I've ever heard.
People may not know what that is.
Do you guys know what Mad Libs are?
Do you know what yes and no is with the thing? Oh, anyone over
No.
50 does. All right. Who else? Can't see her. Oh, yeah.
Do you think now, in today's socioeconomic climate, with owners asking for public money to build stadiums, if owners of a team are still completely necessary and we shouldn't turn over sports teams' ownership to municipalities and have them be run publicly?
People are clapping for that? So you're talking about specifically, I would assume, the Green Bay Packers, who you think are publicly owned, but they're not. The Braves? But would it be a company like stock, like Liberty Media with the Braves? Or do you want it to be like the Science Museum?
I want it to be like the Science Museum.
What a country we'd have. Here's an idea. I know a few countries you could move to where that could happen. So the answer is no. That's like asking whether or not there should be any C-suite level people or any owners of anything. I have an idea. And you don't have to answer this because I'll not ask you. Do anyone own a house or an apartment? I've got an idea. No reason for you to build up equity in anything. We're going to have you live in state-owned housing when you can afford to not. So you have to understand that there are different levels of people or corporations, different circumstances. Now, there's people on Lebitard's show, Jessica's a great example, who would love what you're saying. And Pablo, because they're just so angry that there are people who have versus people who haven't. But the difference gives you the frame of reference. It's like, how are you ever happy if you've never experienced sad?
So you're telling poor people, just know that your poverty makes my wealth more satisfying.
What I'm telling people is that without rich people, you wouldn't have poor people. Without poor people, you wouldn't have rich people. I'm not telling you that I agree or disagree, nor am I telling you that our system is right. I'm telling you what it is. And so you can live in Fantasy Island all you want with little Mishu, but not Mishu, that's the circus one. Mishu is the circus guy.
I just want you to remember that you question whether people know what Mad Libs are.
Mishu's an old reference, isn't it? His name was not Tattoo. That was his character name, but his real name was like Hervé Villachez, something like that. I hear you, but it's just it's not practical, and I'm a very practical person.
Well, of course, but as a follow-up, then why should the owners not pay for those houses?
So the question is, why do owners get subsidies? That would be a great documentary if Metal Art's paying attention. That would be an amazing movie to make, Like, why all this whole public financing thing? And the answer is that there is public financing for way more than you realize. And you may be the beneficiary of it without knowing it, because there are companies who don't charge as much as they could because their P&L is enhanced by certain tax benefits they get or certain benefits to stay in the city. Anybody on Wall Street here? Well, on Wall Street, I think you should all know that when you all threaten to move to Jersey, that's over money from New York to stay in New York. And people may not remember the threats that investment banks make to move, but they do. So there are these incentives that are happening all over, not just in the sports world. And the tax was only and people who buy hotels by the hour.
I am too stoned to mount a critique of capitalism right now, but pretend I did. Just pretend I did.
God, that's so additive to the show. Thank you so much. All people took from that is that you're stoned. Pablo and I argue about capitalism all the time, and it's not that I'm a strict capitalist. It's that
I said rank.
A rank capitalist?
Yes.
What I am is I try to explain to people why there's capitalism and what the benefits are, and there certainly are detriments to capitalism. I don't enjoy homelessness. I don't want that. I want everyone to have a home.
Writing that down.
Please write that down.
Homelessness.
But you have to remember that there are people who will do the math for you, Pablo. People say, if who's that guy who makes the cars? Coca. Elon Musk. If Elon Musk would take, or the Amazon guy, this is my favorite idiocy.
Who's that guy that rides the bike? Joe Biden?
If you take one day of Amazon profits, you could cure all homelessness. That's what people say. Show me how that would work, and I want to learn it, and I want to see if that can be done. If you take the salary of someone, a CEO of an investment bank who's making $40 million, and you took a pay cut, you could stop any firings, the ESPN firings, if you're familiar with those.
Never heard of it.
Well, can you imagine if Bob Iger would take a pay cut, you could save the jobs of everybody. Do you wish that that would happen?
How did we get from science museums to this?
Because the question was asked about capitalism.
But I think it's a fair question on the level of very specifically, in this very specific constraint, why should any sports team owners get public subsidies? That can be constrained. Apart from the larger reality that capitalism is a better alternative than communism, which I would co-sign, albeit less than sober, I would say that that's a fair critique.
This guy would be the list if McCarthy were here.
I'm going to take that as a compliment.
Those are the people on the list. So the answer is I'm talking about stadium financing, but I'm explaining to people that stadium financing is the same as financing and any incentives that your business gets. Billy Corbin yells about financing, stadium financing. He yells into the abyss of anger, and then his company gets help making movies.
But I believe there's a difference, though, right? If you are portraying your business, your multi-billion-dollar business, to be a civic trust of sorts.
I'm not. Never did.
You actually are quite consistent on that. That this was not about a civic myth that you were propagating.
No, it was
lots
for profit.
of teams, of course, do.
Because they're scared. They're scared. Owners, when they're in owners' meetings, they don't talk like that. Can I tell you a funny thing?
Let's get this dirty laundry, man.
All the owners who stand up after they win and they say, I'd like to thank the fans. We have the best fan base in the world. I love our fans. They don't care. I'm sorry. We're told that we have to say that because I used to be a fan. We want to feel like the owner loves us. Why? It's ridiculous. Steve Cohn is ridiculous. But you follow him on Twitter, I bet. Hey, way to go, guys. That was a great job coming back from down 6-2. That's a very interesting, exciting tweet. Do you feel like happy to read that tweet? Did you learn something? Let's go get him. Let's fucking go Mets. LFGM. The LFGM?
I just want to
I don't
acknowledge
like
that.
swearing.
Can I just acknowledge that Mets man is here?
So I love that we're now into the defending Steve Cohn part. I love that he's a fan. He is a fan, but he's going to find out soon enough that being a fan doesn't work. And he's already finding out as you can look at your team and look at where you're going to be. And the reason he said 3 to 5 years for a World Series is that coincidentally is the depreciation when you buy a team for the assets in an asset purchase agreement. So he was depreciating the assets over 5 years, which allows you to deal with the losses that he's incurred. But in year 6, that goes away, and guess what will happen? He will have to run a responsible business, and the payroll will not be what the payroll was. And then you're going to say, oh, my God, he's an ass owner. But he's in the honeymoon period, which I don't call honeymoon. I call it the depreciation period. Sorry. Too much?
I just like the idea that David
talk about the
Samson
Will Ponce?
refers to all honeymoons as depreciation periods. I'm going to turn again to this table and say I am so sorry.
You're not helping. I'm trying to make progress.
Agree to disagree.
That I'm not trying to make progress?
That's not the part I was disagreeing with. Do we have another question, maybe?
Yes, sir, ma'am.
Let's just stop guessing and wait for them to say who they are.
Because even the voice may not tell you.
So this is
That's not a big problem that I have, but proceed.
This is a really nerdy baseball question, mainly because I used to work in minor league baseball. My friend currently works in minor league baseball. As a former team president, what do you think what's going on with Diamond Baseball Holdings and essentially like buying up all of minor league baseball? And legally, like how is that not a monopoly?
Well, because they only own 32 of 120. And so it's a free market when minor league teams are bought and sold. That's a segment that we had for a Nothing Personal show that it got bumped or some breaking news happened. He's talking specifically about there's a group of people who've gotten together and they're trying to buy up all these minor league teams and they're running them as sort of a consortium, but they say that they're doing it with local flavor. So they keep some local employees and they're trying to increase the value of all of the minor league teams. And what they happen to believe is that the more they own, the better their P&L will be, and that it will raise the level of the value of all minor league teams. The downside of having one owner of 32 minor league teams, which you can't have that on the professional side, even if you own a sliver, like John Henry owned a sliver of the Yankees when he got into baseball and bought the Marlins and then the Red Sox, he had to divest because you can only own one team when you're the control person. What's going to happen in this case is they're going to realize that their investors are actually not getting the return that they expected, and you're going to see a divestiture. That's too many ch's, I think. It's divestiture. God, I've been saying that wrong forever. That's what they want all the campuses to do, divestiture. That's why it was in my head.
Okay, I'm going to take my notepad out again.
And so what's going to happen, this is so good. You're going to hear about this on a show. So the answer is I happen to love it. The owner of the Marlins, Jeffrey Lurie, actually started owning a minor league team, and it was in Oklahoma City. And I was in law school at the time, and so I was not a part of that. But the interesting thing is those teams are incredibly profitable on an operating basis, but their appreciation on an asset level is not anywhere near what the major league teams are. And that has begun to change, but not nearly enough to make it an asset play. And so I question the long term of that strategy. It's a fund. So it's a lot like these, it's not a SPAC, but it's the concept where you put a bunch of money together and you decide to buy stuff, and what they put money together to buy solely minor league teams. And that's what they're doing, minor league baseball teams. And
I'd like to divest from this question now. You're almost, David, the clock, man.
We have 12 minutes. That's a business, sports business.
Okay.
We're a sports business show. This
Sorry,
is an actual show.
My bad.
Next question.
Thank you.
I can't see.
I'm right here.
Yes.
We know you're really a man of the people. You've arguably done wonders for the Meadowlark Union that's not a union. So if you were the union president for the WNBA, how would you approach negotiations? Whether you separate from the NBA, what would you be telling the TV stations, et cetera?
Such a great question. The first thing I would do is stop the narrative at the WNBA that they want to fly privately, that they want all these things, these benefits, like increased per diems. When you are on the ownership side and the union starts talking about uniforms and chefs and stuff that is meaningless, and in return, we get a bunch of points on the pension that we can value at like $200 to $400 million, it's so easy to negotiate with Tony Clark. He's the union guy because he cares about player comfort because he was a player. And so they'll fight for player comfort stuff, which is so ridiculous because of course we'll give that, but we say we won't. So that's how to negotiate. You say, oh no, I'll never give you a chef. They wanted chefs in clubhouses so badly that they were willing to have us fund less of the player pension to get a chef. It's so good. I mean, it's so ridiculous. So if I were the WNBA, I would focus on long-term benefits because here's a note for you. The majority of players are poor. All the rich players you guys think that exist, it's a tiny percentage of the union. The majority of the union needs benefits going forward. And it's very hard for the union to focus because they want current day stuff for current day players, and I wouldn't do that. The second thing on the broadcast deal is there's a question, will the WNBA and NBA now be bifurcated? As the NBA is announcing all these new deals, they did a deal with Amazon and ESPN. Now there's a rumor that the Comcast Peacock is going to take away from Turner their rights. I would stay with the NBA, but I would get a higher valuation as pegged by the NBA. So in this current deal, the WNBA is $60 million a year. I would peg it at $100 million, $120 million to show growth because right now the numbers for the WNBA, it's PR what you're seeing, and it's great PR with Caitlin Clark. I love it, but you're not seeing it in the actual P&L yet or with the value of teams. So one of the things is to get more broadcast revenue, so I would do the deal together, but increase the amount that's allocated so then the next deal, hopefully you've had a few franchise sales, and hopefully you can be on your own. That's a great question.
It's kind of like, you're kind of like a white hat hacker. You guys familiar with that term? Where it's sort of like, to create the best defense against people trying to rob me, I must know how they rob me. And you're actually kind of a brilliant would-be union president, despite being also the exact opposite of that.
Someone asked me, would I be an agent? No, is the answer. Again, being an agent, I don't know if there are agents in the room, it's not a very glorious job. You see Scott Boras and you think that all agents are just having press conferences. No, you are a babysitter. You are getting calls about DUIs, you're getting calls about players who need shoes or gloves, or you're getting them when they're children and you're hoping
Complaining about
make it.
studio time and their staff size.
Yes.
Must be difficult.
My agent actually tries to pretend that we got the better end of not being in the Metal Art studio.
I mean, someone got the better end.
Coca. He doesn't have to commute. What else? We have time for one more before we get to our last topic. Yes, sir.
Can a non-hockey team exist in Canada?
I have news for you, my friend.
This is
You're going to want to buckle up for this.
the Raptors, the Argonauts.
Would you invest in a non-hockey team in Canada?
If I were Rogers, I would be happy owning the Raptors because it's a very large, diversified company of which the Raptors are used somewhat as a loss leader for a lot of the other stuff that they do. The Montreal Expos were a disaster of a team financially, and I was only the cause of like 18% of that. The other 82% existed when I got there. That'd be another good story, but people blame me for the Expos leaving. Ariel Helwani.
I'm going to do this episode with you.
Do you know Ariel Helwani?
Of course, Ariel's been on my show. He's great.
He blames... Does he tell you about me?
David, the list of people who ask me about you is a totally different file on my notes app.
I say this to Levitar all the time. I hate that you have to apologize for being my friend. I'm sorry you have to do that. I really am. It actually, I'm being serious now. It is it is infuriating and sad to me. And I'm made of wires, and I'm not going to get emotional about it because I'm not. But it is
We're gonna just
unbelievable.
cut to the Coca cam on that reaction.
No, I just think it's
But
too
David,
bad.
I am your friend.
No.
That's the thing.
But
Is
you
that
have
I
to apologize all
voluntarily
the time.
sat on this stage with you as you bring up various topics that are almost designed to torpedo any chance I have of being a respectable person. And I've made that choice. I lie in this bed that you have made for me.
I love you. Thank you for being here.
I love you too.
All right, Pablo Torre, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. You can go smoke again. Okay. He's funny. That literally is what our life is like together. We have just random conversations about things. I need to review a movie. I'm doing my top 5. Do I need to take a break, Sarah? Just good.
You've got 30 seconds.
No, 9:34 is the close. Top 5 New York movies. Number 5, Annie Hall. You want to clap for Woody Allen, but you feel like you can't. That's what just happened here. I get it. I don't know. I see him at Sentiment, so he looks happy. Number 4, Tootsie. You feel like you can't clap for that either. I liked it. Number 3, Man on Wire. That's a little known movie in New York if you haven't seen it. It's a movie about a guy who actually walks the high wire between the World Trade Centers, and it is fantastic. It is insane, actually. Number 2, It Could Happen to You. I want to tell a story of that very quickly. That's a movie that maybe you don't know. It Could Happen to You is with Bridget Fonda and Nicolas Cage. It's about a cop who needed to tip a waitress and gave her half the winnings of a lottery ticket. It's a true story. And I love movies that touch me romantically. And they fell, well, those I watched through squiggly lines. But there are no, can you imagine growing up without squiggly lines the way kids do now? It's like right there on your web browser. Would you like a, whatever. It's, yes. Hey, that's a nipple. Sorry. No one does that anymore. Number 1, sorry, if you know, you know. Number 1, the best New York movie of all time. I think you won't disagree. Even Adnan Virk would like this. It's called When Harry Met Sally. The thing about When Harry Met Sally for me is that I have been under the impression that you cannot be friends with women ever. That any woman you're a friend with, and I learned this from Harry Met Sally, is someone you want to date or someone you want to have sex with. And it turns out it's totally true. All of you who think that you have, that the friends you have are guys that they don't want to sleep with you, I have a news alert. They do. They just don't tell you. I love Pink Panther. Pink Panther is a great New York movie. There's a ton of great New York movies. Okay, I want to end on this note. In the last 2 minutes, and this is part of the show. The value that Pablo and I have and that we have at Meadowlark Media and CBS and all these different people who spend their life, comedians, actors, actresses, anybody who spends their life trying to be entertaining. It is the audience that decides what's entertaining. It is the most powerful job you all have, is that you actually control what you do, what you see, what you hear. And so many people don't realize it, but what we're doing on this side of the microphone is spending countless hours trying to guess what you will engage with. And then after it's released, whether it's a movie or a book or an article or a podcast, we then find out after the fact whether we were right. And what we've learned at Nothing Personal is that we've been right in that all of the ways that we're made fun of or I'm made fun of or Pablo is doing what Pablo's doing, you guys have voted with your time, with your energy, hours each week. You do it with Dan, you do it with Pablo, you do it with me, you do it with so many others. And we take it incredibly seriously. And so we don't take your time for granted ever. We appreciate it. And we appreciate it in a way that makes us work way harder because it takes so much preparation to look unprepared. So much. And it's always because of the respect that we have for you. Now, having said that, it's just business. This is nothing personal. Thank you.